What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Gaming Without Parole. Sitting across from me this week and every week is the one, the only Desra.
Actually, that's not true. There are other Desras out there.
The one, the only Desra of this room.
Okay, fair enough. And sitting across from me, as always, is Brian Paul.
The one and only Brian in the room.
Yay!
Yeah, actually, that Brian over there he's seen better days. We have so many game cats watching.
Yes, hello, Game Cats.
I think it's only fair we get a puppy. Can we get a puppy?
Not my apartment. Knock yourselves out.
We're getting a puppy.
A game puppy.
I love game puppies. Can we name him Luca?
Luca? And he lives on the second floor?
That's right.
Yay.
Some
people just get very, very sad out there.
Yeah. I was listening to that song before we started filming.
Oh, did you? Oh, yeah.
Real sad.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Why is that such a thing? People are like, everybody knows that song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people who don't know what it's about. And that's kind of one of those wake-ups.
It's really depressing.
Anyways,
and
we have a
don't
topic.
want to be depressing.
No.
Des, months and months and months and años ago,
Yes.
we talked about the PlayStation VR.
Yes, the episode that almost made me quit.
It was soon after launch.
Mm-hmm.
We had some good times with it. I had some good times with it. You had some horrible times with it.
I had I've never come closer to puking on camera than I did that episode.
That's right. You were like legit the same color as the screen.
Oh yeah, it was
halfway
bad.
through. Like you went transparent because of the Ultra Key.
Yeah,
yeah.
It was not a good time.
But since we've become such a PlayStation VR focused channel,
yes,
we decided that maybe it was time for you to give it another shot.
Yeah, it was, and even the day of, I do have some issues with motion sickness, and I kind of knew that going in.
Yeah.
And even the day I was like, you know what, I want to try this again at some point. Maybe taking some Dramamine, right. some motion sickness stuff, because I found in the past that does help me. And so we're like, all right, I'm going to jump back on that horse with some chemical augmentation and see what happens.
My favorite kind of augmentation.
Yay! And
not so bad.
Yeah, we've got some mixed results, but we also kind of approached the problem differently. So it's I guess it's a bad science experiment because we changed multiple variables at once, but
the end result was much better, which is all that matters.
Yeah. I don't know if we want to get too much to the verdict before we talk about the problems, but in general, I had a much better experience this time. Yeah.
Well, then let's just dive right in and start talking
absolutely.
about the games that we spent time playing.
Yeah, so I will start off with Brian introduced me to, and the other thing is too, there's a little more of a curated list. I think Brian did a good job of like, hey, try these. These are the games that people seem to have a better experience with.
I screwed up the first time because I gave you all sorts of things that would make you sick.
Yeah.
I'm real bad at showing people things.
But so he started me out with a game called Static, which is wow. It was phenomenal. If you were watching last week, we talked about short games, and I was raving about The Room. I still stand by that. I've played The Room 2 and 3 now, and it's a fantastic series. Mm-hmm. And this is, in some ways, kind of taking The Room and putting it in VR. Except it's way better. Playing this was the first time I was like, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
I really, I kind of get what VR can do for you. If you're not familiar with it, it is a puzzle game, and the general idea is your hands are stuck inside a box, and your only controller is the DualShock controller.
Yeah. So
you're holding on to that, and the animation on the screen is your hands in a box, and your arms are mapped to exactly where they would be holding the controller, and your character in the room in the static retention lab.
Yep.
Is someone who's basically sitting in a chair, hands in a box with a thing on their head. So the immersion happens almost instantly. You were exactly there, and unlike some of the other games where I had an issue where like you're moving around through this fake environment, you're not moving around. You're stuck in a chair, and whenever you move your head, it tracks perfectly to that. So there isn't any of that motion lag that causes the motion sickness. Yeah. And because it is so mapped to exactly what you're doing, like I think I already said it, but the immersion happens almost instantly. You are right there.
Yeah,
it's phenomenal. Your key controls, your the analog sticks and shoulder buttons, all that are mapped to functions on the box.
Or inside the box.
I guess is a better way to put it.
It's almost genius, the game design, because they're like, well, if you're sitting there and you have to hold this controller, you have to hold this controller. Your hands are like this. What can we do to make your hands constantly have to be like this on screen? They nailed it.
Yeah, and that's actually, I've got a quote from Andreas Johnson, one of the co-founders of Tarsier, who are the developer designers of this game. And he basically, they were sitting around, and he was literally doing exactly that, holding the DualShock controller, saying, what can I do with this?
Right.
We should make a game where that's exactly what the player will do. Just explore it. And that's what it is. There are multiple rooms, so basically every time you kind of wake up, come out of consciousness. There is the Dr. Ingen, who is the scientist. I don't want to give too much away, but he's tasked anyways with walking you through these puzzles, or at least observing you while you're doing the puzzle. There is kind of a Portal vibe.
Yeah, that's what everybody said.
Yeah, but it's not quite, though.
Yeah.
Because Portal is a little more cartoony. The evil is a little more obvious, but also the humor is a little more obvious.
Yeah.
It's a very dry humor, but it's kind of hit you over the head. This is supposed to be funny. This is...
not so funny.
Yeah. There's, like... Sahara Desert dry humor, but also this edge of creepiness and that's actually part of the immersion as well. I mean, he talks to you a little bit sort of at the beginning when you start figuring it out, and once the game figures out that you're sort of solving it now, he just sits there, just kind of sipping his coffee, sighing every once in a while, and instead of being distracting, it sort of adds to the feeling of sort of oppression and discomfort. You're trapped, and there's this guy. I kind of likened it to if you've ever been to the optometrist and they kind of pull up.
Yeah.
And they're just like right in your face, and you just kind of hear them breathing, and it's in real life, it's kind of annoying. In this, it just adds to the sense of sort of oppression and crushing unhappiness.
And half of the time you think that you're not sure if he's sitting there judging you or if he's sitting there and he's getting impatient waiting for you to figure it out.
Yeah.
And so like there's like a nerve-wracking element to it where you're like, am I wasting this guy's time?
Exactly. Yeah. And so you solve the puzzle and you get knocked unconscious, you wake up again. The best part is whatever you learned from the last time does not help you on the next puzzle.
Yeah.
The next puzzle is going to be completely different with a totally different logic. Again, it's still, you're only manipulating it with the DualShock, but the way you do that is going to be completely different.
Yeah.
You have to look around the room, find cues, maybe clues. It's
For me, the greatest thing about Static was that the logic in the puzzles was perfect. Like for me, like I'm not the best puzzle solver, but what happens with Static is the beginning of every single new puzzle, I'm sitting there going, I don't know. Like I have zero clue.
Yeah.
And then at one point, like something clicks, like maybe literally or figuratively in your brain. But it's the perfect progression of logic for me, where like you start uncovering the clues. I think exactly the way the developers meant for you to.
Yeah.
It's amazingly well done and well structured.
One of the criticisms that I've read in a lot of kind of reviews of this is like, well, you play it through once, it's going to be short and blah, blah, blah. It doesn't have a lot of replay value. I wanted to introduce you to these little guys here. These are metal puzzles by a Japanese company called Hanayama, and I moved my prop. And so like this one here, your goal is to separate this out into the three different kind of loops of metal that make it. This one here, you just kind of have to take it apart. There are two pieces together. And it's going to take me maybe half hour, 45 minutes. Actually, this one here, surprisingly, it took me about 2 hours to figure out.
Wow.
Yeah. There's no replay value on these. Once you figure it out once, it's pretty much it. But I've gladly paid $10 to $15 for each of these because the experience is fantastic. I would view this as exactly the same thing, but even more so because there are eight? Yeah. I believe 8 different puzzles.
7 or 8, yeah.
7.
And then there's like a grand one at the end, which is almost completely unrelated, which is nice. If
you're already one of the people who's dropped the coin on buying a PSVR, buy this game. There's no reason not to. And no replayability. Well, no, it's not meant for replayability. It's a puzzle game. But even if at that, there is some replayability, there's an amazing kind of hidden co-op mode.
Yeah. the second player has to pull out their phone or their tablet and go on the PlayStation Network, the app, and then and then the two of you can go at it together solving puzzles. Yeah. Kind of, I wouldn't say a pain, but I was hoping that they would do something with the social screen, the television.
Yeah.
But what are you gonna do?
It's nice. I mean, this was the game, I will be honest, that kind of converted me into a believer. It's like, oh, I'm starting to see what you can do here. Yeah. So if you have a PSVR and you have a friend who likes puzzles and logic games, but who's on the fence, grab them, strap them down, and make them play this game. Yeah.
Des, before we move on, I want to say something that's very important. We're recording this before the release of Farpoint. Farpoint's coming out on the 15th or the 16th, something like that. So right around the corner for us.
Yeah.
But Farpoint will not be part of either of these episodes because it's not out. Haven't had a chance to play it. I'm assuming that it's something we need to talk about.
Yeah.
But we don't have it. We can't talk about it. Not yet. It looks amazing. We'll talk about it in the future. Something I do want to talk about is a very, very recent game, came out less than a month ago. Starboard Arena.
Oh, right.
This is ridiculous. This game came out. It showed up from Amazon the day it came out, and I did a Let's Play. And luckily, the online was broken.
Boo.
Luckily for me, because I hate online multiplayer competitive shooting. Not my thing. It's just it kind of bores me. I'm like, oh, good, my KD ratio is awesome. I'm gonna kill you. You're gonna kill me. Oh,
hacks.
It's I don't ever get into like Call of Duty's online mode because of this. It's just like it's just boring. I'm like I'm not a competitive dude.
I can get yelled at by 13-year-olds
anywhere. But what happened was I had played it, and then at some point I was like, I need to get back to this. I need to give it a shot. I need to try this out. And when I told the Game Cats that that I was looking to get back into it, a couple of them reached out to me, Seraphim190 and Lewis Knight and JD. They were like, if you're going to play with us. And I'm like, okay. Let me tell you something, man. Like, so much fun.
Yeah.
There is something about playing multiplayer games in VR when you know that the other people you're playing with are also sitting on their couch with a helmet on their head. It's just, there's something that brings you closer to them. Because of course you're actually in the game,
right?
And when you blow someone away, you're like right up there in front of them.
Yeah,
it's So let me tell you what kind of game this is.
Okay.
Other than an online multiplayer competitive shooter,
right?
Remember Descent in Forsaken back in the day?
I do.
Yeah, like the first games to ever really
goes in 3D, man. You can go up, down, everywhere.
Yeah, I hated those games. I get lost on my way to like McDonald's, and it's like 2 minutes away. I can't handle getting lost with zero gravity in effect. It's too much for me.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, I started playing Starboard's single player. There's like all these matches, all these missions and stuff that you need to complete. You have to be first place in them to move on. There's all these different pilots and ships and loadouts and mods and all these different things. You can like really customize your ship.
Yeah.
And I thought that like you could kind of customize it until I played online, and I didn't even recognize other people's ships because they had like these weird skins.
Totally,
totally. And it was just so cool to see the people who've been playing since day one, like just how far their like stats have evolved.
Now, it's just you're like customizing the game. You choose from these skins, or you can actually go in and mod it yourself.
I don't think you can actually edit yourself, but you do unlock quite a few different, like really rare. Because there's one dude, I forget what his name was, but you could just tell he'd been playing since day one because his ships were so much more tricked out than everyone else's. Yeah. I hate playing online, man, and I had such a blast with this game that there's something special here, and it's $40, and it feels so full featured that you could probably play this for the rest of your life as long as you have other people to play with. Yeah. That is part of the problem right now with only about 1 million PlayStation VR units out there. Is like, okay, so those 1 million people, how many of them bought Starboard, and how many are going to be online when you want to play?
Yeah.
So what you need to do is find some friends who love to play this game and play with them all the time.
And I think that's kind of the difference. Like, I think we both been on record like not liking online playing games just because in general, again, I don't want to be yelled at by 13-year-olds.
Yeah.
But what makes it very different, I'll be the first to admit, if you are playing with friends,
Yep.
or in this case, Game Cats. our new friends. Yay. Not my new friends, because no one wants to play with me online. Of course, I also don't have a PSVR, so...
Oh, no, you broke the fourth wall.
No, that's the fourth. Wait, that's the fourth wall.
I don't know.
Oh, he hates when I do this.
I hate it.
Okay.
You just totally disappeared.
Yep. So, yeah.
So speaking of the fourth wall...
Fourth wall?
What's our third game?
Our third game is something I'm a little less excited about, but I do want to talk about because I think it brings up some important issues with the VR games. This is Merville's.
A VR adventure.
A VR adventure.
I love Merville's.
Yeah, it's fun to say, and there are some very charming things here. It's basically a platformer. In some ways, a 3D platformer / adventure game. Vesuvius VR, the creators of it, bill it as in the spirit of Mario 64 and Zelda games. And that's setting the bar pretty goddamn high.
That is real high.
Yeah, because it is not either of those things at all. You play a little Merville. I will give some props. Very customizable. Yeah. Which is nice. As you play through the game, you can get all sorts of different weapons and whatnot. In some ways, it is very similar to kind of, think like 90s RPG action games. You walk around the city, you meet these NPCs who can do nothing for themselves. Oh, my fish fell in the river. Could you go pick them up or whatnot?
Yeah, little fetch quests.
Yeah, fetch quests, things like that. Very charming, kind of environment. But the thing that kind of struck me overall, and I was trying to find some information about Vesuvius VR because I had kind of a hunch about them, and I still haven't found the answer. If you have a technical school near you, they probably have days where you can go on and see what they're doing on campus. Mm-hmm. The students show off their cool projects and whatnot, and we're lucky enough to have WPI and Becker both near us, which are two fantastic tech schools. And there's like the game demo days. Like, here's what the game design students are working on.
Yeah.
This, more than anything else, felt like that. It really, it felt like, yeah, you guys have some really neat ideas, but there's just a lot of kind of placeholder stuff going on. The art, the animation, like the jumping, was just kind of, you could see the character do a little arc like that. The voice acting.
Okay, here's where you and I are going to agree. Yeah. Voice acting's horrible. And so much of it's unskippable.
Yeah, it's unskippable. Painful. And it's not even like, okay, so bad actors, but at one point someone actually said, invent Ori. Like, not inventory, invent Ori. And it's just like, that's not bad acting. That's just, I don't know how to read English.
Yeah.
It's not fantastic. My biggest issue, though, like all of this, I think you can cut it a little bit of slack because this is the first game of its type for VR.
Yep.
I'm sure there's a bunch of hurdles they had to jump through that no one else has been able to figure out yet. So I'm going to cut them some slack as far as the design goes. Where I'm not going to cut them too slack, there's nothing uniquely VR about this.
Okay.
It's you're basically a fixed camera over the screen or over the world, and it's just.
Well, let's talk about this.
Yeah.
When I played this game, felt very much like an N64 game. Reminded me of Banjo Kazooie and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Collectathons. You're collecting all the coins and pages and whatever. And
the pages of the Book of Merville's.
It's very important that you know the story. It's not important at all. But when I did it, I turned on the smooth camera option. I made sure that my right stick was controlling the camera rotation, and that camera was following me around while I played.
Yeah.
It didn't quite work that well for you.
No. We found out almost immediately that the smooth camera was very vomitous for Des. Just the way, and I think we're starting to nail down exactly what throws me off, but as soon as the camera did that, I was like, oh, I am not happy with this. But there is a what's
like static camera.
Static camera. So basically, a static camera, it doesn't move until you hit the button, then it snaps into place.
Yeah. Quick turning.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that was really helpful for me. It got almost immediately got rid of any of the kind of nausea-inducing dizziness, which was awesome. Not so great. It didn't really take into account exactly where the virtual camera would be. So often I'd be, all right, I'm about to make a jump. I should change my angle. And now there's a tree in my face.
Right.
And, that was helpful. Thank you. So, yeah, I want to give them props because they're experimenting in new territory, and there's a lot to like. It's cute. Some of the little mini quests are actually pretty challenging and fun.
Yeah,
but it just feels unfinished.
For me, I understand so this game was sent to me by the company's name, who I can't pronounce.
Vitruvius. Sorry, yes. Vitruvius VR.
And I can't, and I didn't even know this game existed until they were like, "Hey, do you want to review this for your channel?" And I said, "Absolutely." And they sent me the code a week early, and I got to really spend some time with it, and I got to beat the game before I reviewed it, which was really nice because that doesn't always happen.
Yeah.
And man, I fell in love with this thing.
Okay.
I thought it was charming, and I was okay with the kind of low budget appeal of it. I was also coming off of 14 hours of Resident Evil 7.
Yeah.
So this was night and day. It was okay, I'm done being scared of Jack coming and trying to kill me every 5 seconds.
Yeah.
I was I am ready for something bright and colorful, and there came Merville's at the perfect time. And man, I sang Merville's praises from the highest mountain, and everyone on Reddit thought I was crazy. And guess what? I might be a little bit crazy, but this game ultimately is a lot of fun.
It is. It
doesn't
is
do a lot new for VR or anything, but it made me realize, it was the first game that made me realize VR games don't have to be first person. You can just look around the environment and control a little dude on the screen. It was kind of cool.
Yeah, I guess my frustration is this. If this wasn't a VR title, if this was a traditional 3D platformer for name your console, what would your verdict be?
Oh, way lower.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would still be a fun little romp through the Merville land, but I mean, I'd be giving it a 5 instead of an 8.
Yeah.
So VR makes everything better. That's my tagline for the whole channel.
Yeah, and I think I guess I'm still new to this. I'm willing to give you some slack because this is new in your VR, but not. I mean, there's just basic animation issues.
True.
That really should be kind of, I don't know, better. Yeah. I want to like it. I really do, but...
I like when we disagree.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen often. I think it's going to happen a lot more often over the course of this and next episode.
Oh, maybe.
We'll see. Right. Oh, am I up?
You are up, sir.
All right, here we go. This one, you're all going to hate me for.
I'm going to raise the roof.
I think this is a great game. This is a $15 game that is composed of 9 games. Comprised of 9 games. Composed?
Ooh.
Comprised.
Either way.
Composed. Yeah. It's called Herocade, and it's published by Lucid Site. Now, Herocade is it gets a really bad rap right now online. Because it's 9 kind of smaller VR titles that are all grouped together into this bigger game called Herocade. And it is, and a lot of the 9 games are not very good.
Okay, there's the problem.
Well, that is the problem. So I'm just going to go through them one by one, and,
okay.
and I really feel bad for whoever's going to edit this. I hope it's not me. So the first one is Jurassic Survival. You're literally standing in the exact same spot next to a Jeep that's obviously run off the road, jungle road, whatever, and dinosaurs come at you from all directions. You're standing in one spot, you can't move, you're turning around, and just the same dinosaurs come at you nonstop, level after level, and oh my god, it's so boring. You would have thought...
Jurassic Survival?
Jurassic Survival.
So they couldn't for the licensing?
Nope.
Okay.
Oh, thank God, too. It's like Jurassic Park hasn't already been dragged through the mud.
Yeah.
So that is total garbage.
Okay.
Space Rift Attack.
Space Rift Attack.
This is Space Invaders in 3D or in VR. Yeah, except...
Next episode.
Yeah, it's you would think it would be a lot more fun, actually, than it is. It's really not fun. You aim with your head, and you move your ship with the D-pad, and... you just fire so slow, and even the aiming seems off.
Yeah.
No fun.
Okay.
Next. Z-Strike. You get to kill zombies in VR.
Woohoo!
Yeah, from a helicopter, a mile away from your targets.
Okay, so that's 3.
It's like if you're shooting stick figures, with slow guns. Yeah, skip that one.
Okay, so 3 out of 9 so far are no good.
Yeah, right. And neither is the 4th. Gummy no Yumi. This is a puzzle game, and man, it could have been okay, but instead of giving you smooth camera rotation options, it's all click turning. So you're always, anytime you need to see a different perspective of the puzzle that you're looking at, it jars the camera that much, and so you can't even tell what you're looking at. You're like, wait.
Oh, so you lose you
lose your bearings very quickly.
That's kind of important in a puzzle game.
Yeah, and it's been done a million times. So Gummy no Yumi, no thank you.
4 down.
Yep. Okay, so that's 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, geez, that's crazy. No, I missed one. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
The point is 1, 2, 3. Interesting.
All right.
Sisters is part of this. It's it's about a 5-minute experience where you're stuck in a room.
Okay.
And you and you have to shine your flashlight on things, and crazy, scary stuff is happening. It looks like it's happening. It's like PlayStation 2 graphics. It's real bad.
Oh.
But didn't stop me from being scared out of my mind. Because when you think something's gonna jump up at you in VR, like for some reason it's extra scary.
I can see that. Yeah.
So even though nothing crazy happened, I was holding onto the couch. I was like, please just don't do it to me. Okay. So I actually think Sisters was cool because it's
41.
Yeah. Poly Runner. Poly Runner is a kind of like almost like an endless runner, but it's you're driving
about
a ship.
Mormon marathoner.
No. Oh, nice. I like it. Poly Runner it almost looks like Star Fox or like Race to Sun if you're familiar with that, but in VR, and you just have to travel as far as you can in your ship without crashing. Very simple stuff. Get the high score. I liked it. But better than that was 405 Road Rage, which has you driving down a highway in third person.
Okay.
And you get more points for driving in the wrong lane with traffic coming at you. You get more points for narrowly avoiding cars that are coming at you or cars that you're passing.
Okay.
And the entire point of it is to get as far as you can, just like Poly Runner. But the more points you get to upgrade your car. You get to buy new cars. You can buy like a gun for your car. Like it is. Okay. It's one of my favorites, even though it looks like a really crappy title.
Yeah.
But then the best one of this is called Dread Halls. And you might be familiar with Dread Halls because it was actually on, I want to say the Galaxy, whatever that's called.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and it's a first-person dungeon crawler, and it's scary as hell.
Yeah.
There's like some evil witch or something like that, and like you're not supposed to look at her, and if you look at her, she'll kill you, and that's not fun at all. So you're constantly like turning around, seeing her, and going, I didn't mean to look at you, I'm sorry. And then you like walk out of the room like this, like trying not to look at her. It's ridiculous. Now, here's the thing. They could have easily done this like the cheap way.
Yeah.
And they could have said, hey, here's 9 games. And they could have sold them, each one of them, for like, $2.99, $3.99.
Like Wii shovelware.
Exactly. Yeah. And they could have just put each one of them up on the PlayStation Store, and we could have just like devoured them one by one as we do, because those PlayStation VR fanboys are like ravenous, and we play everything. But they didn't do that. For $15, they give us all 9 games. That's like $1.67 a piece.
Okay.
I mean,
all right, I guess.
And there's no way in like Dread Halls alone were $10.
Right.
I would have paid $5 for 405 Road Rage alone.
So you could think, are you getting Dread Halls and a bunch of other games?
So that's kind of it, and that's sort of how it was marketed too, I think.
Yeah.
But so that's the thing is like, it's like just think of all the extra crap that comes with it as bonus. Like,
now, are these all games by the same developer? Or
no, I think a few of them are by the same developer, but mostly this is Lucid Site kind of gathered up all these games by different people and then sold them as one big package.
All right.
I'll allow it. It's basically better than you think, is what I'm trying to say. And we're going to move on to honorable mentions.
Yeah.
Right, because we are running super low on time for this episode. Wow. Yeah, we always do that.
Yeah, but it's kind of worth it. This is sort of new ground for me.
Yeah.
So my honorable mention is going to be a little weird. I really, really wanted to like this one. It's one of the experiences that Brian's been raving about, that Michelle's raving about, that everyone who touches a PSVR is raving about. This is Resident Evil
7.
Yes.
Biohazard.
Yes. Man, I tried. I was feeling good. I was feeling confident. We went through a bunch of game experiences with the when we did the click turning on Merville's. It's like, oh, we figured that out. So fired up Resident Evil. And like, all right, I can do this. I can. It turns out.
That got to you even with the Dramamine and the
it's just I really tried. I kind of was forcing my way through it, and I gotta say, even with the click turning, it was a little too much, which is really disappointing because it was very again, we're really overusing this word immersive, but you definitely felt like you start out in Louisiana. You can just feel like the oppressive heat. It just feels like an awful, humid, nasty summer day. And there's a little weirdness with the clarity of the graphics, if that makes any sense.
When you're outside, I think it gets a lot clearer once you get inside the building.
But even at that, like, it's still the smoothness of the animation and everything. You can fall into that very quickly and feel like, okay, I'm really in this place. So I want to give this a full review. I really enjoyed what I could make it through, but I will say, if you're motion sensitive like me, Static, Merville's, absolutely great experience. Resident Evil, it was rough.
So, and I don't even need to refute this at all, because if you've been watching this channel even a little bit, I've got 4 different Let's Plays up of me loving being terrified of every second of Resident Evil 7. My review is up. I love every minute of the 14 hours I played of this 9-hour game.
Yep.
Like, 'cause it took me 5 extra hours because I was petrified the whole time.
Yeah.
I love it. I bet Des would love it if his body would have let him play.
Yeah, I know. And I really want to love it. I really want to play this one. I just wanted to mention it on the on this to say, yeah, we didn't ignore this. But if you're kind of have motion issues like I do, this is one you want to be careful. I didn't tell you guys this, but I was actually like literally just sweating.
Yeah.
From effort of trying to just like, okay, I can do this.
Yeah. Well,
so
appreciate you giving it a shot.
Yeah. No. I again. It looks fantastic. I was really, because of the fact you are there and you're like, sneaking around, looking at the, I made it to finding the video cassette, which is kind of important.
Pretty early on. But,
yeah.
but at least you got a feel for it.
Yeah. No, it definitely, you get the feeling of like, oh my gosh, I am sneaking around this old decrepit house and anything can happen at any time.
And anything does.
Yeah.
Yeah. My honorable mention is it's a strange one. It's called Dying Reborn. And it's an escape the room style game.
Okay.
You get 3 different puzzle rooms. It's the most simple explanation of what it feels like to play this game is as if someone took you while you were sleeping and dropped you squarely in the middle of a Saw movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and because it's like everything just looks like there's torture devices everywhere, and well, not everywhere, but it has that vibe to it. You can easily beat this an hour per puzzle, 3 hours long, and horrible voice acting, not important. But the deal is that just be warned about this game because it's $10, 3 puzzles. It's a good deal. I enjoyed every minute of it. But there is a PlayStation 4 and Vita version of it, like a non-VR version, with more puzzles.
Oh.
So you can get like this bundle where you get everything together and you get an awesome deal. But if you just buy the straight up PlayStation 4 version, you're getting more puzzles, but you're not getting the VR version. It's definitely something to look out for. But it's strange because this is an example of something that's pretty low budget that really, really worked for me. It was just pretty awesome. So, and puzzle solving.
Yeah.
Fun.
Actually, it reminds me, I forgot to bring up during Static, when they were first spitballing the ideas for Static, it was going to be a straight up horror game.
Awesome.
And then they were like, but that kind of brings the story. There's only like one place the story can go at that point.
Yeah.
So they kind of loosened it up a little bit and made that kind of sort of creepy. And for me, Brian likes his jump scares. I like my creepiness.
Right on.
Yeah.
I like it all. Bring it on. All right, listen, the reason we're wrapping this up so quickly is because we have another one of these coming next week. We have PlayStation VR. This is actually part 2 because we did part 1 months and months ago. So part 3, we'll see you next week for that.
And as a teaser, Static, maybe reconsider VR. One of the games I'm going to be talking about next week made me a believer.
Awesome. Yeah. I can't wait. Listen, in the meantime, comment down below. Let us know what your favorite PlayStation VR games are. Let us know if you're like Des and you have motion sickness issues. I know some of our viewers have overcome it.
Yeah, and that's one thing I'm sort of rating too. Is like, hey, anyone can play this one.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. So for Gaming Without Parole, I'm Brian Paul.
I'm Des,
and we'll see you next week.